This is your HomePlate podcast. Baseball from north to south. Benvenuti, baseball friends out there in the cyber baseball diamond. We are here on our fourth digital at bat for HomePlate 33, the podcast with our co-host Alex Eriksson from Chill TV. How's it going, Alex?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Okay, I'm getting any better. I'm leaving next week for spring training. So, it's
Love
like Christmas, right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, welcome. Thanks for joining us in this fourth digital bat. We have a lot to cover today. I don't know, like our episode seems to be going, longer and longer, but there's so much to talk about that it's hard to stop it. But first thing is first, like everybody know, it's a broken record on every single platform. If you like this, so we can actually keep bringing you content, like, subscribe, share with your friends, whether it's on Instagram, on YouTube, or any other platform that you use to actually listen to us. If you like it, you got to hit the little bell and the like button and the subscribe and all that good stuff that comes with all of this. All right, Alex, spring training is in full swing, my man. Everything is there. Soto with his $700+ million, I don't know, win yard on his first at bat as a Met, and the robo umpires are in full swing. What do you have to say about that?
Things are happening, man, and I know the scores don't matter, but there's a little bit of me that the Cubs are 3-0.
Well, and
I
the
know
Jays,
it
I
doesn't
think, are 2
matter.
and
I
0.
know it doesn't
Yeah.
matter,
Yeah.
but I can't
Yeah.
help but be a little bit hopeful and a little excited. So,
Yeah. No, and have you, I know you have actually watched at least a couple of games already. What are
mhm.
your thoughts so far in the robo umpire thing? I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yes, I mean I've been pro RoboUmp for like since they started trying it in the minors a few years
Yeah.
back. I think of all the elements to introduce variability and chance into a game, umpires are not the best vehicle for doing that, and
Yeah.
it's about time. They were late to the game with challenging calls, and now they're trialing this out, and I think hopefully they come up with a better name because I feel like
Yeah.
braking systems have already kind of appropriated the ABS.
Exactly. And,
Um,
and and at the end of the day, it's not a robot. It's kind of one of those, like, you have to kind of get a better name. I agree with you.
Well, and it's also the same freaking metrics that we've been watching as like
Yeah.
viewers. If you've watched baseball on TV, you see the little fake strike zone that they're firing into, and you see all the analytics that are there. It's literally just implementing the same thing that we all look at, the same thing
Yeah.
that's used to evaluate accuracy of umpires. Like just use this kind of reminds me of when we started checking pitchers. So the first
Mhm.
year that they were checking pitchers, right? They were looking
Yeah.
for sticky stuff. They were checking hats, they're checking ears, they're checking belts, they're checking under your left nut. Like it was insane. And then they had this bright idea the second year, which is check their hands. So for whatever reason, MLB has this kind of buffoonish way of like having technology and common sense available to them, but then not
Yeah.
using it for an entire year.
Yeah. Yeah. But one thing that you actually mentioned last week that I totally agree with, at least they're trying something. Like,
Yeah.
it takes them a couple of years to kind of get it sorted out, for lack of a better word, but at least they're doing the right thing. And for those of you that are not fully aware of what this challenge system is not that the people from the dugout or the people in the stands can actually be calling for a review. No, 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 people. Only pitchers, catchers, and batters. That's it. And you have a certain amount of time to actually see, like, if you're going to challenge it. But it's not that the umpire or the manager actually screaming from the dugout, "I want you to challenge that ball." That ain't
Mhm.
gonna fly, people. So, if your batter it's not up to speed or he's fighting with the umpire and the time goes, suck it up, buttercup. Not gonna happen. So
Yeah.
it's something to watch out for. And obviously it's good to also mention that this is happening at the major league level for the very first time in spring training, and it's not meant to be used in 2025 regular season. The target is 2026. So for
Yeah.
those of you that are expecting it to actually happen right away in 2025 when you go to the major league stadium, not gonna happen. That's like
Mhm.
0. So it's good to, get people, like make, that expectation. But those of you that are watching it on our Canadian broadcast, we don't actually say the name because they're not paying us and we don't want to get shut down. You see the challenge system. It's not going to be at Rogers Center. Skydome. Sorry, Skydome will be always be Skydome. It's not going to happen this year. So its target is 2026. Yeah, so this that was definitely a good start to actually get the ball rolling for this podcast, and then we'll go into our spring training section so we can actually dissect what we're going to be talking about because there's a lot to cover in our next section. Spring training, it's up next.
Spring training.
All right, Mr. Alex, we're here in the spring training at spring training. So lots going on, lots of signings, lots of drama. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, just one final note on the ABS system thing, just before we jump in, because I want to
Yeah.
talk about some of the signings pieces.
Mhm.
I am genuinely curious because I'm trying to think through this piece, and I want someone to steel man why we shouldn't have this system
Mhm.
without quoting tradition.
Hmm. That's interesting. I don't know.
Because like there's a case to be made for everything. There's a case to be
Yeah.
made for not implementing the new technology, but I want to see someone without citing tradition, like the value of having an umpire call balls and strikes,
Yeah.
not have them in the game, not have them present in the game. I still think they need to be
Yeah.
on the field doing stuff, but
Mhm.
like, what is the case that we shouldn't have this? I'm open and curious about it.
Yeah, no, and for me, I mean, I'm so far I've actually enjoyed it, and so far the feedback from the people that I've actually talked to and the fans that have actually been in Florida or in Arizona, it's a positive one. But me, my take on the whole thing, just to make it easier, not only for the players but also for the umpires, you already have the sign and like the square that we've been using for what, 10 years now, or at least five. Uh, when it's a strike, it's a beep on the left, and it's a ball, it's a beep on the right. That's it. You don't have to challenge anything. You already know, and you won't make any mistakes. So
Yeah.
why are not doing it that way? I don't know. Maybe I know just my brain is going a little bit outside the box here, but I agree with you. Like, I mean, unless somebody's actually quoting, okay, well, this is the purest part of the game and blah blah blah, whatever. Other than the shifts, which is something that we definitely need to talk about in another episode. I mean, why not? Like, why not improve what's already a beautiful game and kind of take it to the next level and bring tech into the whole equation, right?
It's going to showcase how good pitchers are at spotting balls and
Yeah.
how good batters are at seeing spots.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
that will be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And yeah, no, but that's what we're here for, my man, to actually discuss that and make sure that everybody's up to date of what's going on in the field and off the field. In terms of going into the signings and drama, um, I would actually start, if I had to start in terms of the drama, I would actually start in Boston with the whole Devers saga drama thing. I don't
you're
know.
not going to start with the Milwaukee Brewers start signing Mark Canha?
Sure, we'll go with that.
You know, Mark Canha.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, yeah,
He's
of
who they
course.
signed to replace Blake Perkins after he fractured a shin.
Absolutely. Like it's
Getting hit
uh,
really hard by his bicycle pedal. I don't know how you fracture a shin.
yeah,
Anyway, yes, let's
unbelievable.
go to Boston.
Yeah,
Roger Devers.
honestly, for those of you that didn't see the press conference when Rafael Devers reported to camp, they had a press conference, and of course, the very first question that they asked him, well, we all hear that you're going to be the DH slash first baseman, and Alex Breckman, which is the new signing for the Boston Red Sox, it's going to be the third baseman. His reply, I don't know, I'm the third baseman. I'm not a DH. Suck it up. No, that's not going to happen. And Alex Cora replied, well, there's new management. So we got to kind of roll with the punches. And there's that drama there that I don't know if it was a lack of communication. I don't know if it was, how could I say it? Sorry, my friend Devers, but maybe a little bit immaturity there in terms of the response. But that's something that for somebody that actually that has the highest error rate as a starting third baseman in the major leagues, not only in the American League, and like in the major leagues for the last 5 years, you're adding extra pressure on top of that. And to me, that's a drama. Like that's a massive drama. So
Mhm.
I don't know what you have to say
Yeah,
about that. I don't know.
it's interesting because I'm struggling to suspend disbelief that like Devers wasn't discussed or like notified at certain point. Like I know things move quickly in the off
Yeah.
season and with the trading and stuff, but it's not like Bregman was a quick pickup. Like he'd been on the market for a while. We weren't sure
Hmm.
where he was going to go. Boston had to have been in those discussions early.
Yeah.
At some point, there must have been a conversation with Devers and saying, hey, like this is what we're kind of thinking
Yeah.
because Bregman won a Gold Glove in I think 24, and
Last year.
you
Last
can
year.
barely
Yeah.
remember to keep your glove on. So
Yeah.
you're here because you're one of the best hitters in the league. You're
Yeah.
not because you're a stud third baseman. What are we talking about here? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone's in Rafa's ears, like,
Kind of like,
maybe at the family meal, Big Poppy's like, "Don't be a DH," which would be
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I totally like think that. Well, first of all, I mean, Devers, in terms of the hitting aspect of it, he's the face of the Red Sox. Let's be absolutely honest with that. He's the identity of that lineup. On like when it comes to the batting order, part of it. But in terms of the defensive side of things, I mean, unless you're looking at Bregman as a mentor to make sure he is your third baseman, because as we both know, when Bregman signed, the announcement was Bregman to the Red Sox to play second base, not to play third base. So, in my personal opinion, giving Devers the benefit of the doubt as a youngster, and being the face of the Red Sox, maybe he got the memo. Oh yeah, he's going to play second base. That's fine. Where did this third base thing come from? Right. So I don't know, but puts a lot of pressure in that dugout. That clubhouse must be on fire.
It does, but again, it's like Devers not playing third isn't not going to make him any less the face of the franchise. Again,
True.
not to keep bringing him up, but Big Poppy was the face of Boston,
Yeah.
and I don't think he even knew which hand he threw with for most of his career.
I think he only
He
played like
didn't
what,
need
5 games
to.
at first. And that's
Yeah,
about it.
he
Yeah.
didn't need to, right? Like, so I'm not sure. I think it'll pan out. I think things will work out.
Yeah.
I don't see the Red Sox getting rid of him, and I also don't see Devers kind of tanking this year so he gets this trade deal. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
We'll see. There's always, you know what, this is good because the Boston news, sports news media tends to eat itself alive anyway. It's the second of the three mouth-breathing sports cities of the States next to New
yeah,
York, and then after that, Philadelphia.
absolutely.
With love, as a Boston fan, with love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch
But
a
it's,
Bill Burr impression. He does it spot on every time of what fans in Boston are like.
yep.
So, maybe it's just juicing the press a little bit to stir up some drama, boost some jersey sales, and we'll carry
Yeah.
on with our lives. And Rafa will play first and be happy because he can not do anything and hit 50
Yeah.
bombs. And
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like I know with the Blue Jays. I mean, Vladdy actually came up with a third baseman, and they changed the first baseman. You see what we've been doing. So
yeah,
changes are not what the issue is. I guess the issue, at least what the press is actually kind of putting out there, is more of the, well, nobody told me I'm the third baseman. Suck it up. I mean, this guy's supposed to play second base, and nobody
yeah.
told me. So it's like, whoa. But
And you're and you're
yeah,
not and you're not gonna get a drama or a beef with Bregman.
nah, I don't.
Bregman is so human valium that Bregman can't drive in the evenings while being Alex Bregman. Like that's how,
Yeah,
in the best possible way, he is a dry, stone-faced, easygoing, not a lot of drama human being. So
and one way or the other, he's going to make his $40 million. So I don't think
yeah,
he cares much.
exactly.
I don't
Oh,
think he cares much.
I
Yeah.
get to play in Fenway.
Oops.
Oh,
Oh
man.
well. All
Okay.
right. Well, moving on to like another topic that I know you really want to talk about, which is the
Hmm.
Arenado saga. Um,
Yes. Staying
Yeah.
with third base here. Guess that's the hot corner is hot in the news as opposed to hard hit ground balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to recap people, or Arenado exercised his no trade clause back at the end of the year, but it looks like the Cardinals and Astros have resumed talks of potentially bringing Nolan Arenado to Houston. And I'm here for it. I love Arenado. I like the way he plays the bag. He's something that he transcends generations because he is so fundamentally good
Yeah.
that he makes all the old heads real happy, but then he's got enough pizzazz and enough flashy arm to make the younger kids happy. So
Yeah, no, like it's
I like
definitely a generational
Arenado.
player.
Exactly. Yeah, as much as I tend to be on the anti-Astros bandwagon more often than I'm on.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad move for him. That puts the Astros back, likely winning their division if they have another
absolutely.
Gold Glover at third base and solid bat. I
Yeah.
don't know. How's Arenado hit for the last few years?
Actually, last year he had a down year, but I mean, it's Arenado. I mean, he can turn it around and kind of like hit, I don't know, 40 bombs or 35 bombs and I don't know, like 25 doubles. I mean,
Mm.
that's it. That's the beauty of that. No, no, if that actually materializes, he doesn't have to be the face of the franchise. Like he doesn't have to be the guy that they have to go to. I mean, they still have Jordan Alvarez. They have another kind of issue that they have to deal. Well, not issue. But I don't know, like they have a confirmation from Jose Altuve that he's going to play left field. They have another thing
Oh,
to deal
really?
with. Yep, he actually said it himself. He
Hey,
didn't ask for the change, but he was asked to change for to improve flexibility of the team. And yeah,
does he know how
he's
far that is away to run from?
well, I don't know. Like he's not a kid, but I mean he stays in shape and pretty well. So I mean they're comparing him to
For sure,
Biggio and
but
all
I
that kind
mean
of
at
stuff, but I don't
4'11,
know.
he might need a piggyback to get halfway up there.
Well, he's definitely not going to be robbing home runs anytime soon. I can tell you that much.
Yes.
But yeah, no, like the Astros have definitely made enough moves to keep themselves in the conversation. That's for sure. But and
Hmm.
obviously adding Arenado to be able to solidify that corner. I know they have Isaac Paredes right now manning third base, but I mean, there's no comparison there. Like, I mean, if you get Arenado, like, I mean, Isaac Paredes can play first base, can be a DH, can be anything else,
Hmm.
and still produce for them. So, again, to remind our listeners, Arenado, like, because Arenado's been in the league for 10 years, he has a no trade clause and he can actually exercise anything any way he wants. There's some teams that he actually has approved for a trade, being the Red Sox being one of them, the Dodgers being another one. I think the Yankees is another one, but Houston is a
And yeah,
no-go list. And the Angels, I think it was, right? If I heard correctly.
yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
think it was. I think there was the Angels. So he has a list of like 5 or 6 teams that he has a pre-approved list, if you want to call it that way. And but the Astros are definitely not there. But the Cardinals are desperate to move him around because obviously they have a logjam of infielders. They want to offload that contract. They know they're not the team to beat in that division, so they want to get younger, training Arenado and giving him a chance to move from there, right? So
yeah.
it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. We'll definitely keep an eye on that because I mean, if that needle moves, a lot of other teams are going to have to move as well.
Mhm.
Seattle being one of
Well,
them.
yeah, Arenado's got 74 million left over the next 3 years. Like that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
a not a cheap player for a team like
Ooh,
the St. Louis Cardinals.
absolutely. Any other signings that you want to actually talk about? Because there's so
Well,
many.
Anthony Rizzo is
Mm-hmm.
unsigned still after declining his option for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what do you think about that one? Do you think he's going to
Uh,
play or is he going to take the retirement?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, Rizzo is one of those guys, like the perfect guy to be a mentor anywhere, whether it's
Mhm.
coming off the bench, whether it's being that first baseman, DH once in a while. He still has that contact. Of course, the last couple of years, the injury, especially the hand injury that he had a couple of years ago, definitely made a dent on his production. We after signing Goldsmith, there's no way he was going to come back to the Yankees.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, one of the teams that would be perfect for him to go back to like San Diego. He was, I don't know, came up was in San Diego, or maybe go back to the Cubs, where he was a legend with the Cubs. Um, I don't think he's ready to retire, but he's probably going to get one of those minor league deals with invitation and spring training somewhere. Even Seattle could be a good spot, even though they're betting on Riley or Rayleigh. I always get that pronunciation wrong. On at first base, he did a pretty good job last year, but I
Mhm.
mean, having Rizzo there at first base is not too shabby. To kind of have that veteran presence at first base. So that'll be kind of an interesting move there.
It
Um,
will. Somewhat selfishly, of the guys that retire and then go do commentary, I think
yeah.
Rizzo will be
Oh,
excellent when
apparently
he
he's
does commentary.
hilarious. I hear I don't know, he's absolutely hilarious. He
Yeah,
reminds me of Ryan Dempster, like in terms of that
yeah.
funny kind of comedy kind of scenario. So, yeah, like that will be, he would be a very good addition to
He could be
any
the
broadcasting
Pat
staff.
McAfee of baseball.
Yeah, I mean he definitely has the wit to actually do that.
Yeah,
And because we had, and I sorry to interrupt you there, my friend Alex, um, because we had so much to cover, we forgot
yep.
to actually provide the trivia question of the day, my man, and I have a
Ah,
juicy one for you. So, our trivia question of the day, so we can actually kind of move into, I don't know, deeping into the injury report and so on, is who is the only player in the modern era to hit homers on his first at bat at each level of the minors and the show
so this is single A, double A, triple A
and
majors.
majors? Yes.
That's
Who's
not
the
going to be a long list.
Nope. So if I give you a hint, you're gonna guess it right away. But my hint is he was a staple in the 90s. The 90s was the time that he actually kind of like shined. So he's not something in
Uh,
the 2000s. So 90s, he was like the guy when he was playing. So
like
I know a very colorful player in terms of opinions. So it was definitely not one of those quiet ones. He was definitely the outspoken one. Um, so that's a hint in terms of that trivia question of the day. I'll repeat it. Who is the only player in the modern era to hit homers on the first at bat at each level, single A, double A, triple A, and the show? So, I mean, it's definitely not something that happens every day. So the list is very, very short,
yeah,
but you're going to have to, for those of you that cheat and actually go to Google,
yeah.
I'm
Don't
going to
cheat.
have
Don't
to
Google.
spend,
Don't
yeah,
chat
no, yeah,
GPT it. Let it
yeah.
scratch your brain. It's a long podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So just let it be. Let it be. So with that, we'll go into a little bit more of the drama and the injuries in camp in our next section for the regular season.
Regular season.
All right, we are in our next section, and here we're going to be talking about the injuries on in camp. There's a few of them that hurt a lot of the favorite player and favorite teams, and who would actually have the biggest impact. We start with the big boy in Manhattan, Mr. Giancarlo Stanton. Again, he's dealing with elbow issues on both of his elbows, and he might not be ready for opening day. I don't know. I, I don't know where to go with this, to be honest with you. So losing
Well,
Soto and then Stanton going down. Ugh.
mhm.
So I don't know what you think about that.
I don't understand how he gets injured so much.
Too much power? I don't know. I have no idea. But
I
that guy's a
mean,
beast. That
to
guy's a
make an
brick wall.
off-color
Yeah.
joke, the point of steroids is they help you recover.
Maybe he's not using enough.
Like, if he's using the wrong ones or what's going on, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, explosive athletes have explosive injuries, and elbows tend to be one of those things where high tension in the joints cause a lot of inflammation. That's what tennis elbow is. It's a acute tendonitis in the joint. It's a lot of inflammation, and so. Maybe it is the supplements that he's on, both illicit and not illicit.
Not that we're trying
Or,
to bring
maybe
controversy
he's
into this
partying a
podcast.
little bit too hard, right? Like that's the other thing. Like
Yeah,
maybe it's the lifestyle piece as well. Like he's not getting the sleep, he's not doing the sauna or the cold plunge, he's missing physio and he's not doing those things.
yeah,
Or maybe this is just a genetic thing where he's just
yeah,
got those soft elasticy elbows and tendons and
yeah,
they tear because he swings so goddamn hard. Like I don't
yeah.
know, what do you think?
Well, and like as you very well know, like he's an all or nothing guy. Like either he hits a homer double or he strikes out. Like I mean, he's not gonna, pepper, home run and like hit base hits on a behind second base. He's gonna actually swing for the fences every time, right? So,
Mhm.
but the reason why I bring him up first is after losing Soto, I don't think the Yankees can afford him going down. Like
Yeah,
realistically speaking, I don't think they can afford him going down for a long period of time, especially in the American League East, where they're going to be needing all the help they can get. I mean, they definitely have the team to beat, realistically speaking, on paper.
yeah,
But you lose Stanton, then you lose the protection for Aaron Judge. Then you actually have to get creative and like is Goldsmith, you're going to be your protection guy. Is he going to be Wells? Is going to be your protection guy? You don't have that clear picture in terms of where you need to
yeah,
go and where you need to pivot. So, um, well, maybe I know because we mentioned Arenado. Maybe if he goes down for a long period of time, they push for Arenado so he can play third and be the protection for Judge. I don't know,
yeah.
but there's a lot of ramifications of him going down. Let's say a third of the season, a half of the season because it's both elbows. I mean, it's if it's just gonna like, yeah, we'll sore upper back, blah blah blah, whatever. I mean, we'll go through that. I mean, we're not exactly 15 anymore. But both elbows, beginning of camp, oof. And for them to report it, it's must be pretty serious.
I know, but I mean, the other part of this too is
Yeah.
not to speak for the old heads here, but tape a Tylenol to it and get out there. You have sore elbows. It is a very soft sounding injury. I don't know if I could play opening day. My elbows are so horrible.
Well, but then one thing that you mentioned before, I mean, they're one of the three juggernauts in terms of media, right? So they have to sell it. They have to kind of sell. They don't sell papers anymore, but they sell digital media. So they have to kind of make
I
sure
know.
that everybody's kind of like into it one way or the other.
But
But
Kirk Gibson hit a walk-off bomb with basically two fake knees.
yep. Well, I mean, and without going very far, our Canadian god, because I mean, he has actually earned the spot there, Freddie Freeman. He basically hit that
Yes.
home run with one leg because he could barely
And
actually keep his weight on it. So I
yep.
don't know. Yeah, so that
And
tells you.
he did confirm he's ready to go in Japan
Yeah.
after his off-season ankle surgery.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean that's one of those things, right? So I mean you get those guys that um they have been able to find a way to be on the field and produce on the field, and there was other guys that unfortunately whether they're male like for the glass nows of the world, they're
Yeah.
amazing, but they're constantly down and out for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. Hopefully I get the media pass and then I can actually ask him myself. I doubt it,
Excellent.
but I'll be watching up close. Hopefully this Friday, the Yankees against the Blue Jays in the house of the Yankees in Tampa. So we'll see if he comes out, at least takes VP. We'll see. We'll have to keep a close eye on that. And staying with New York, another huge loss, in my opinion, was one of the newest signing for the Mets, Frankie Montas has not started throwing yet. Apparently, he's going to be out for a long period of time. He's definitely not going to be ready for opening day. So, oof, that's another big blow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
where you at with that?
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it's going to hit them as hard as I think they will. They have the pieces there. There's a couple of left-handed pitchers there still in the free agent market, like Quintana, still kicking around. He declined an offer from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh pivoted and went with Andrew Heaney.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. Like, I mean, they were betting on this guy to be like the fourth starter after losing Severino to the Athletics. So I think it's a big blow for them in terms of getting used to and adjusting to this new season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. What was the injury?
He has a upper left lat injury. So I mean, you know how lat injuries are definitely not elbow injuries, especially when you're a pitcher. Lat injuries usually take a little bit longer to heal.
Especially a guy
Um,
who like rips the ball down like he does. It's a very
exactly.
lat heavy.
Yeah.
Uh, and so people who aren't aware of kind of the pitching mechanics, it's the very end of the motion. Your lat is what's stretched once the ball is released, and it's what's kind of slowing your arm down from ripping itself out of the shoulder.
Yeah.
And
So yeah,
especially for Montas, like that's a huge thing. He stays up nice and tall and brings everything way down when he throws. So
yeah. So I
uh,
mean, that's your bread and butter right there. That's your paycheck, I don't know, muscle. So
mhm.
me personally, I don't think he's going to be ready for, I don't know, until like probably, I don't know, if he hasn't actually thrown yet. You're looking at ramping up, and then if you're ready to go, so you're probably All-Star break, maybe. I don't know.
Do you think
So that
they start him or do they put him through AAA for a bit or do you think they put him in the bullpen for a while or
Um, Me personally, probably they're going to build him up in the minors and whatnot, and plan on again to throw a couple of rehab starts in AAA, so on, and maybe come back before the All-Star break or around the All-Star break. That might be
Mhm.
my guess. Because usually lad injuries usually take longer. That's unfortunately that's the physics of the whole thing. So, another injury that we need to report that I mean, another of those guys that it's always injured was one of the additions that the Detroit Tigers added. Alex Cobb is actually down as well with a hip injury. Um, there's no timeline on the table for him. So that's another interesting one. I mean, he's the fifth starter. I don't think it was going to be like top of the rotation kind of starter. So the impact might be low, but at the same time, a contending team, in my opinion, and like obviously they wanted to add those. And another one for Blue that obviously the known to the Blue Jays fandom. Um, um, Hordowitz that was sent to Pittsburgh after the Blue Jays traded him for Andres
Mhm.
Jimenez. Went down. He had wrist surgery. Apparently, he's going to be down for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So 6 to 8 weeks wrist injury. You're looking at probably May, June at the earliest. So a big blow there for Pittsburgh. I mean, they're not exactly one of those teams that everybody's looking at to win that division, but I mean, new pieces are going down, right? So,
Yep.
um, yeah. So,
Ha-Seong Kim for the Rays had surgery in October.
yep.
I'm
That's a
reading that
second
he's
baseman, correct? Right?
yeah,
That's a new second baseman. Yeah.
yeah.
So, ha-
He's supposed to make his debut in May.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so and obviously in that case, probably Caminero. For those of you that actually follow the Caribbean World Series, he was the one that pimped the home run that the bat kind of went higher than the airplane that was actually crossing the plate.
Yeah.
But so probably Junior Caminero might get a big chance to play second base or in the infield while Hang Sung Kim comes back. So lots of moves, lots of drama there. And the last one, that way this section doesn't go very, very far. Another drama that might not be an injury, but it's definitely let's call it a mental injury. Call it for that,
An
for
eyebrow
argument's
raiser.
sake. Is Marcus Stroman reporting to camp and not wanting to be part of the bullpen because he is a starter and he's not going to be part of the bullpen at any given time. So is this a Stro show or is this a mental show or I don't even know anymore with Stroman. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I think he went to some witch doctor who said he was Napoleon in another life.
Yep. That he was
And
like that when he played in Vancouver. So it's not new.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, the antics are endearing until they're not.
Hmm.
And I think he's
Yeah.
a good example of not knowing when to turn it off. Like
Yeah. When to just
I
walk away.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of the just don't pay attention to it and it won't matter. He's gonna end up bowering himself without to turn
Yeah.
Trevor Bauer into a verb.
Yep.
He's gonna
Exactly.
end up alienating himself out of the league because no one wants to put up with it because he's not even like What
Yeah.
is he a 15-win pitcher anymore?
No. Well, I mean, like he got to 14, I think it was with the Cubs 2 years ago. But last year he was even actually out of the playoff roster for the Yankees. So it's not that the guy is
Yeah.
actually on like a not a second starter for that division. And the part that actually found it that I found interesting in this whole drama thing for Stroman is that we both know you're going to need 7, 8, 9 starters to go through the season. So if you're the
Mhm.
sixth starter, you're definitely going to get starts. You know,
Yeah.
Rodon is going to go down like after 2 months and he's going to actually pick up that spot. Or another guy has an inflammation on his shoulder or he has a whatever. Sip it and just see how it plays out. I mean, if I don't know, if you haven't actually pitched for 2 months, then ask for a trade and that's it. Just don't say, I'm not going to be going into the bullpen. It's like, come on, man. Like, just chill. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my
But
take on it.
the problem is he's a Yankee, and
Yeah.
I'm I think the Yankees as an organization threshold for obnoxious prima donnas is pretty limited.
Yeah. And he's a New Yorker too. So double whammy there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're gonna sit him and his bedazzled necklace down and say, well, I'll pay you. Like, we can afford to pay you to sit,
Yep.
not play. How do you like that? And
Yep. Or like, to quote a Bostonian, how do you like them apples?
exactly, exactly.
We need to send him Hercules to actually take care of that. So
Yeah, no kidding.
yep. All right. So we are going into, I know like this was a great conversation. So we'll continue mowing down all the topics here for during the podcast. But we're gonna leave this section right here and we're gonna go into another interesting topic, which Alex, I don't know, well, I think it will be interesting, especially talking about the Astros, which is the what I call the Altuve left field coefficient. Um,
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Like, I mean, we'll talk about that after the All-Star break, which we'll talk about our sponsors and about the local initiatives that we have for you guys. We'll be right back.
All-Star break.
And here we are at the All-Star break, where we thank our sponsors for making this possible for our podcast. Obviously, not only our podcast, but also all of our supporters that actually hit like and subscribe in our channel. Definitely growing. Then like we'll do our best to bring as much information as you can so you can get up to date with the world of baseball. Our sponsors, NG Accounting and Tax Services, leave the taxes to the experts in the United States. Pinto Web, the web portal for your paint needs in Venezuela, and Accessorios Corp, your best shipping option to Venezuela. It's the All-Star break, so we'll give you a hint on that trivia question of the day. I'll repeat the trivia question. Who's the only player in modern era to hit homers at the first at bat at each level? Single A, double A, triple A, and the show. And the hint is he was a left-handed first baseman. So, any guesses, Alex?
I I know who it is, so I'm not gonna
Okay,
spoil
cool.
anybody,
Good.
but I'm now curious about how many people are in this list. Like,
Yeah. When I
there's
did the
actually
research, as far as I know, I think there's 6 that actually hit it in at least the first 3 at bats. Because the amazing thing about this guy was like first at bat, each level, boom, bang.
yeah.
So it just blew my when I saw it, I was like, you just absolutely blew my mind. So definitely a star in the 90s. As far as I remember, he retired early 2000s. First left-handed first base. There's not very many of those. Lie. Pretty much every first baseman is a left-handed, but that's a different conversation. Obviously, another thing that we talk about in this All-Star break is actually those initiatives in our local communities. One thing that we wanted to actually thank is Red Chili Sport Bar here in Chilliwack that always supports adult baseball in the valley. Obviously, go and check it out. Where hopefully we'll have a podcast there, so you can actually hear the vibe at the bar. I don't know, maybe we can actually do it in the middle of the season, so we can go after the game and record some of the sounds at the bar and show you the bar, so you can see where we spend our time after the games.
Mhm.
They have like a pool table, live band, and whatnot. So definitely a fun atmosphere. But the key thing there is they support a lot of the local initiatives there. So I don't know, they support us, we support them. So go and check them out. They're downtown Chilliwack. So another thing that's going around, obviously, last week we talked about the general meetings for minor baseball in the Valley. Obviously, now the things are warming up here in British Columbia. A lot of teams are looking for that support for volunteers, whether it's coaches, even people to rake the fields. There's always an opportunity for you to actually contribute and help our local community. So just reach out and we'll find a way to do so. And for those of you old farts like us, let's be honest, Alex, we're not 19 anymore. If you want to actually play baseball, there's plenty of room in a lot of the teams in the Lower Mainland. Check out the Lower Mainland Baseball League. If you're not in Chilliwack, you can actually play for Langley. You can play for North Vancouver. You can play for Burnaby. There's a lot of places you can actually play. Lots of great ball, 18 and over, 35 and like 30 and over, 45 and over. And I heard a rumor that might get a 55 and over pretty soon. So will be kind of an interesting one. And unless Alex has anything else to add, I think the other
Yeah,
thing to yeah,
just to
go ahead.
throw in, the only real dead spot is Abbotsford when it comes
Yeah,
to men's league baseball. You can go to Langley, you can come to Chilliwack. Other than
yeah,
that, there's tons of teams throughout Vancouver, Burnaby, North Van, Langley, Surrey. There's a ton out there.
yeah.
On the Chilliwack minor baseball side of things, they're in full fundraiser mode. They're sending their college prep team to Arizona in over spring break.
Hmm.
Then I know I think they did a Baldo drive last
Yes.
weekend. They've done a hot dog and Krispy Kreme fundraiser. So if you haven't already, follow that Facebook, follow that Instagram, and stay up to date on those things. I
Yeah.
know they just published the roster for their college prep for 2025. So maybe
Yeah.
we can get some of them in to talk about it, and we'll go out
That'll
and
be
check
great.
out some games and showcase some of that for you
Yeah, we'll
guys.
make sure to actually put it at in the description for this podcast, so that way you can follow that website and whatnot. So we'll do our best to get those guys and the coaches to talk about what they're going to be doing in Arizona.
And if you're listening to this podcast at the very beginning, when I challenged anyone to steel man the argument against the ABS system, a lot of umpire clinics are going on, and I know you're the type of person who would want to be an umpire. If you're going to defend calling balls and strikes, go become an umpire, call balls and strikes, make your beer money this season.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, can't get any better than that. You get to be on the field, enjoy the field, have a couple of beers, because usually in adult baseball you have a couple of adult beverages in the dugout after the game. So,
Absolutely.
and then you get paid for it. I mean, can't get any better than
Yeah.
that, right? Of course, you
Yeah.
might have to put up with a fan or two, but I mean, how bad can that be, right?
But then you get to come hang out with us catchers, and we're
Exactly.
delightful.
We are
We
absolutely
think
a
we're
delight.
hilarious.
So we're always actually cracking a fan, like a dad joke every time, every inning, right? So we try our best to actually keep them loose behind the plate. All right, so that was our All-Star break section, and we'll go into the trade deadline, where we're going to be talking about the Altuve left field coefficient. We'll be right back.
Trade deadline.
And here we are at the trade deadline, and we're going to be talking about the little guy from Houston, Mr. Which let's call it Mr. Altuve, because I mean a lot of people either love him, either hate him, or they don't care enough, or they just want to boo him. But it's worth talking about, because I mean his numbers say that he might be a Hall of Famer second baseman. I'm one of those people that he might have I don't know, he might have a chance when he retires. But it's gonna be an uphill battle because of that whole scandal in Houston, and him being one of the faces of that particular scandal, or being in the middle of the whole thing because of the whole buzzer issue that then apparently he had underneath the uniform. But this year, he's going from an all-star second baseman to a left fielder. Again, like Alex mentioned in a previous section, he's only 4'11" or 4'10", something like that. If you see those pictures, between him and Aaron Judge, he looks like, he's giving an autograph to a little kid that just ran onto the field. Um, but he actually confirmed it. There was an interview done with him this spring training where he confirmed that he did not go into management and go, okay, I want to play another position because I say so, or because I want to actually experience the outfield. It's the organization reached out to him, and he agreed to play in the outfield to actually give the organization a lot more flexibility in terms of signing players and whatnot. So I don't know. In my personal opinion, he's an athlete. He can probably do the job that he's required to do. He's already working hard in the outfield. It's not something apparently that came out last week, but the confirmation happened last week. But in my opinion, I think it's going to kill his career, in my personal opinion. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to be Switzerland when it comes to Jose Altuve. Like, I want to respect the fact that he's a relatively unpolarizing guy, with the exception of the jersey grab, and
Mm-hmm.
he busts his ass. Like, I always like rooting for the little guy, figuratively and literally. I was
Yeah.
Roy a fan. Like, I like the little guys that cut it in the bigs with the bigger,
Mm-hmm.
stronger athletes. Like,
Yeah.
he is an elite level athlete, no
Yeah.
matter what and whatever his limitations are or whatever he's done.
Yeah.
And he's still, he's Mr. Astro as much as
Yeah.
anyone else is Mr. Astro. So
Absolutely.
is this a little bit, being put to the pasture of left field? Maybe, but
Yeah.
at this point, if he doesn't want to retire, I feel like it's owed to him to let him go out and do stuff. I think it's not going to kill his ability to be a mentor or be
Yeah.
a culture leader on the team. So,
Yeah.
I don't hate it. What do you think? As he's not a relative, is he?
And he's not a relative, but I've been to where he was born. So, but no,
Maybe don't phrase it like that, buddy.
yeah, no, I definitely don't want to. Yeah, I've been. Yeah, I get it. I've been to the town where he grew up. How's that? Is that better?
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
How
Um,
how close was it to your hometown?
about an hour, give or take. So basically, like
Okay.
driving to Surrey from here, give or
Yeah.
take.
Okay.
So close enough. He's from the same hometown as Cabrera and a couple of big leaguers or whatever. So um, he's a prominent area of the country where a lot of my major
You were
leaguers
you
came
were
out.
just an hour away of drinking that special well water.
Yeah, I missed my boat there. So
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad we have you, buddy.
there you go. Thank you very much, my man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, what do
Um,
you feel? Where are you at with Jose here,
I
bud?
mean, there's three things that a lot of people kind of don't give him credit for. Is I mean, Greg Biggio did the same thing. He came up as an outfielder, then he catched, then he played second base, and he became Mr. Astro before Altuve became Mr. Astro.
Mhm.
He has done it all in the game. Like he was an MVP, batting title, Gold Glove. I mean, he has earned the respect regardless of whatever happened in 2017 with the whole fiasco, whatever. He's the last face of that team left in Houston. The part that I have a hard time with this coefficient, like I called it in the section, is that why are you like tinkering with something that you know it's working for, and then unless you have a massive um like reason, like for example, if you Bregman cannot actually play second, no, third base and has to play second base, you have to kind of be um think outside the box. Sure, I can see that as an adjustment, but no, right now they just kind of got. I'm trying to remember his name. Like I know his last name is Rogers, but I can remember his first name, Tyler Rogers,
Brendan Rogers
Brandon Rogers.
from
They just from
the Rockies.
Yeah, he actually signed with a minor league contract with the Astros yesterday or the day before, and he
Mhm.
might be the guy that might play second base while Altuve plays left. So at least he's the leading guy to play second base. So if you don't have like that prospect ready, that's going to take Altuve's place, and that's why Altuve has to move, yada yada yada. I don't get it. I really don't get it. If it's somebody that Altuve goes, well, I know, like second base is too demanding. I have to kind of find another position, and obviously, him being so short, he cannot play first base. He's not going to be a DH because it's a contact hitter. Maybe, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean
I don't know.
they're both Gold Glovers.
Yeah.
I think Rogers is like 28, 29. Like he's
Oh my
not a
God.
rookie either. So this is
Yeah.
this is where it gets a little bit weird. And it might have been the Astros seeing this opportunity to pick up Rogers and say, okay, well,
Yeah.
we need kind of a fresh new middle infield, but we also don't want to do that to Jose. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely like I see him more of a they
how
want to
have you
make it.
seen Altuve as a chemistry guy with his shortstops?
Well, he
Like, is
seems
he
to
like
like him and
someone like
well, him and Pena seem to actually kind of have it all together. None like they up the middle, they seem to kind of be very connected. In the World Baseball Classic, when he played for Venezuela, he played second, and Andres Jimenez was a shortstop of that team. They seem to
Mhm.
be in tune with what they were doing. He was a leader in that team, so that leadership part of it, whether he plays second base or he plays, I don't know, right bench, it's going to actually be there. So he's going to bring that element of leadership, regardless of whatever he plays. But you're
Mhm.
adding an extra level of pressure of a guy to a guy that has never played professionally in left field. Greg Biggio, which is the one that they compare it to, he professionally actually went up as a catcher and outfielder, like Dalton Varsho comes to mind, and then they made him a second baseman. So he had that traction in terms of kind of adjusting to a new position as a utility player. But Altuve has never played at any level in left field. But again, they're the ones that are thinking cybermetrics, and they think that Altuve can actually do the job. I don't think it's going to be a slouch, but at the same time, because of his stature, not because stature off as a player, but stature as in terms of height, like those against the wall, plays and like leaping catches and stuff like that, he's definitely going to struggle with that. I mean, it's a physics
Mhm.
thing. It's not a put down on the guy, but I mean, second base you can get away with a lot of stuff with your height. In the outfield, you get exposed pretty quick. Not a diving for a ball, reaching out for a ball. I mean, you you're gonna get exposed. Of course, Houston has a short porch like Fenway Park, so he can play a lot of the balls off the fence and stuff like that. So he might be able to get away with it, but he's not going to play
Mhm.
162 games there. So he still has to adjust to like those 82 other games outside. Trying to remember the name, Dickin Field. It's no longer Minute Maid Park. It's Dickin Field, I think it's called. So we'll see. I mean, he has surprises already in a lot of ways. So it's just a matter of sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to go into another very juicy talk that I'm pretty sure Alex is itching to talk about. And we're going to be talking about that in our next section. And is one Canadian player that fortunately didn't sign with a team that everybody was expecting him to sign. So we'll be right back and we're going to dissect the Vladdy Jr. saga.
Postseason.
And here we go. And we are going to talk about the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. saga extension. No go, yes go. I dropped my plate. I dropped my money. You didn't talk to me. Blah, 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 blah saga. Alex, I'll let you start because there's a lot to talk about in this
Yeah.
one.
I I'm not sure what to make about this. Because it's really about the Yankees. I think more so than it is about Vladimir. I think Guerrero Jr. is at the point to say, okay, where's my, $800 million 10-year deal somewhere?
Sorry to interrupt, but why the Yankees? You mean
Because
the Mets?
it is going back and forth, right? About whether or not he will go to them. He's made comments saying he wouldn't
Okay.
even sign with them if he was dead. There was a reported incident when
Was a kid.
his dad was
Yeah.
playing where he
Yeah.
wasn't allowed on the field and another player's kid was allowed on the field, suspected racist thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to say. There's not a lot of love
Yeah.
lost between Guerrero and
The
the
Yankees.
Yankees, or is there? It's like
Yeah. It's
he
tricky.
said it's in the past. He said he wouldn't sign with them even if he was dead. Like it's hard to say. It really kind of mixes things up because I don't think the Jays have the money to keep him. I think that is pretty clear. He'll play out the 2025 season, it looks like, unless the Jays deal him, around the trade deadline.
Hmm.
But then where does he go? Like Boston?
Well, who has the money? But like the only ones are what, like four teams that can actually afford him? But
But I
but
mean, that's really sticking it to Devers if he goes to Boston, because then it's
yeah.
like, oh no,
Yeah.
you are the DH. Like there is nowhere
Yeah.
else for you to be, Mr. Face of the franchise. Like that,
Yeah.
it's like an unnecessary FU to Devers to bring
Yeah.
Guerrero Jr. in.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a topic that we can talk for hours. I mean, the part that I found it quite shocking, to be honest with you, is the fact that the Blue Jays have been on pretty much every single free agent over 600, $500 million the last 3 years. They have
Mhm.
been Cinderellas everywhere, including Sasaki, that was not a $700 million, but he was actually an international free agent and still were the runner-ups. So you're the face of your team. Everybody loves him. Obviously, if you had the money to give to Otani, why, I don't know, why don't you have the money to actually give to Guerrero? That's one thing, right? The other part too is the Jays have historically, especially the last, I would say 6 or 7 years, have been having a hard time signing free agents, period. Like, let alone big names. I don't know, like, free agents because of the tax reasons, because they're going to Canada, blah, 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 blah. So you have the opportunity to sign your franchise player. You're going to have to overpay, whether you like it or not. You're going to have to
Mhm.
overpay, whether it's your marquee player or another free agent that you're trying to get. Like, for example, they were going to have to actually overpay for Pete Alonso if they got it. Let's be honest. They
Yeah.
were going to have to overpay. But playing devil's advocate on the side of the Blue Jays, and you might be like, you're way out of basement, man. But think about it this way. If Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has a monster year, like everybody's expecting him to have, the Jays benefit because they're going to actually be in the hunt for a postseason spot, right?
Mhm.
If he goes on in free agency or whatnot, I mean, you're going to lose him anyways, right? You still
Yeah.
can actually trade and like use him as a trading chip. If for whatever reason he has a down year, his price drops, the Jays can actually bounce back. So, I mean, it's a business. Unfortunately, is a business. The whole time
Mhm.
hometown discount that apparently was offered. I'm pretty sure it was one of those. Okay, well, the Jays are offering 500. He wants 600, and he said 559,
Yeah.
and kind of like it didn't go anywhere. Again, he's going to be the top free agent in his class next year. So if you were him and you stay healthy, of course you're going to have to test the waters, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are giving the Jays front office a lot of hard time for not signing him. But at the same time, he's a Boris I don't know, like guy, right? So he's gonna ask for the moon. I mean, like Tatis Jr. asked for
Someone's
the moon
probably
at the
gonna give
time.
it to him.
Yeah, exactly. So whether it's Boston, whether it's the Yankees, whether it's, I don't know, the Mets, you never know. Um, somebody's gonna
I
give them
think
a hundred million.
my confidence is relatively low in the big brain strategy of the Toronto office without Alex
Yeah,
Anthopoulos there, but
yeah, the architect.
I will remain to be hopefully surprised at some point, but
Yeah. And
it's hard
and
to
and
see.
yeah,
I want to see the kid get a ring, and I want to see him, win a couple batting titles, and I
yeah.
don't know if Toronto is the vehicle for that success.
Yeah, and there's another guy that is continues to fly under the radar. It's Bobby Shett.
Mhm.
So you can know both of them are free agents. Let's be honest. They're both are gonna push as hard as they can to get a great contract. So who's gonna
Yeah.
benefit in all this? The Toronto Blue Jays, right? So
Yeah.
and you add two pieces in Andres Jimenez and Anthony Santander. I mean, that's four formidable bats that definitely going to propel you from where you were a year ago. So,
Mhm.
I mean, again, trying to look at the glass half full, it's a win-win to a certain extent for this
Yeah.
season. Next year, that's a completely ballpark because if you lose Vladdy and Bo, you're probably going to have to actually move Andres Jimenez to shortstop and then have to actually go find another second baseman. It just complicates things moving forward. Do you actually take it apart and actually go in a rebuild
Maybe
again?
maybe they'll be able to pick up a former second baseman playing left field in Houston.
There you go. That'll be an interesting blockbuster deal. It's like
Yeah,
Altuve going to North.
avoid Canada for the taxes. Move when you're a senior citizen for the healthcare.
Exactly. Healthcare and retirement. Donna, come to Canada. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
If you're 37 and just about to retire, Canada's the place
yeah.
to go.
Jose, the weather's beautiful.
Exactly. So I mean, there's a lot to be said there.
Mm.
But well, I know, like you said, we definitely have to wait until that season plays out. If he has a monster year and somebody's willing to give you the moon and their whole farm system to rebuild the farm system that Jays has for Vladdy, and then you still have a shot to sign him in the offseason, maybe. But if you're in the hunt and you do you ride on Vladdy until the end and then see if you can actually win a ring with him, I would. I mean, you have nothing to lose. But at the same time, if you're out by July 1st, might as well restock the farm system, right?
Yep.
So that's
Do you think the change of tone, if that's true with New York, is just the negotiation tactic to say, hey, I'm willing to let the biggest paycheck on the block negotiate for me as a way of just increasing what he would get?
maybe. I see him more, to be absolutely frank with you, I see him more in Boston than New York. Because I mean, as you know, not only because his comments with New York and what happened in New York, blah blah blah, he has actually been very outspoken in terms of like, I don't like playing in New York. He gets booed in New York. So
Mm.
I'm not sure if it'll be the right fit, but again, for the right price, I mean, it's business, right? So you'll wear the
Yep.
pinstripes for that matter. But I see him somewhere else in New York. Maybe the Mets. But now Pete Alonso is actually there too. I don't see a spot, but at the same time, they have so much money. Um, you can never discount the Dodgers. They have basically more money than God sometimes. So I don't know.
Yeah, oh my God.
Can you imagine Vladdy at first and Freeman de-aging? I don't know. Anything can
Ugh,
happen. I mean, it's it's
that would
not.
just be that
Yeah,
would just be frustrating.
yeah. First training is definitely one of the words that I would
It's
use.
enough. That's
Yeah.
enough. Enough out of you.
But definitely want to keep bringing you the podcast if I use the word that I'm thinking of. So I want to keep this light and fluffy for those that actually
Okay.
can cancel culture when it comes to that. Um, but yeah, so it's going to be an interesting saga. I mean, I'm going to do everything in my power and using my Spanish skills and my contacts to see if I can actually talk to Vladdy myself, not to ask him about the trades, but just ask him what his mindset is. But I don't know. We'll see. The
Yeah.
chances of that are 0.00001. There's always a chance, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, and
Hey, don't
hopefully
sell
we can bring.
yourself out.
Yeah, so we'll see. We're definitely gonna knock on that
I'll
door.
add Spanish to my Duolingo account so I
Atta
can
boy.
join you too.
Atta boy. Yeah, like we have to find a way to kind of do like a live shot somewhere. I don't know, maybe in the stadium or like when we're in the camp day or something. Just find a spot and kind of make it happen. So maybe a live on Instagram. maybe we can actually gonna make that happen. So,
There we go.
uh, yep. All right, so let's leave it there because I think we served the table for people to make their make up in their mind in terms of where the Jays might go.
Mhm.
Again, make comment below. I know we definitely are willing to actually kind of continue this conversation in the comments for you. And we're going to go into our last section, which we alternated it here because I mean there was so much to talk about. But in this section, we're going to talk about something that happened outside the field that I think um it's going to impact the league in more ways than one, and and people are not talking about this, which is the that ESPN will no longer be the national partner for MLB starting in 2026. Um, a lot to dissect there.
The mouse is out.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in our next section because there's a lot to unpack there and a lot of ramifications that we're going to talk about in the next section. We'll be right back.
World Series.
All right, we are in our last section of our podcast before the summary, of course. And we're going to talk about the breakup because, I mean, there's no other way around it. The breakup between ESPN and Major League Baseball. They still had an agreement for 3 years, but they mutually agreed to opt out of their 3-year deal. They're no longer the national partner for Major League Baseball after this season. It's an institution. There's nothing better. I'm pretty sure you growing up, Alex, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN was like the cat's meow at that point. So I don't know. I'm sad. Like I'm genuinely sad. Because I mean it was not only in English but in Spanish. Both of them had their flavor. Like
Mhm.
before MLB.TV or whatever was
I mean,
around.
there was English, and then there was the one with flavor. I know what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Exactly. So you heard it here first. But yeah, so they yeah, no, like there was nothing better than a Sunday. You're actually gonna watch ESPN Sunday Night Baseball with your parents, your friends, and whatnot, and just enjoy baseball that was meant to be enjoyed and with your family and stuff. So especially for me, growing up not in the United States or Canada, it was something to watch with the family, and it was great. And for that partnership to end, it's sad. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I'm enough of a junkie that I don't care how it gets into my system. I will find a way to put baseball into my system. But yeah, it is there is always something that will be missing in the future that even if you can't quite put a finger on it,
Mhm.
you'll know it's there.
Yeah.
So again, the positive for me is if this means the growth and improvement on the MLB side of things to partner with streaming services and have more internet-based games, which is the way that most people are consuming most things most of the time.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't hate that as well. I don't have a cable subscription myself, and
Yeah.
um, it is it would be nice to have something, even if they could bring the cost of MLB TV down a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
you can take in the games, you can cast it to your TV, and it's not going to make too much of a difference. I think most people are good with NFL
Yeah.
TV for the Americans. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And
I mean it's obviously not impacting me as much as it's impacting
yeah.
you, but it is a big deal.
Yeah, and for those of you that actually don't know, ESPN, like and ESPN itself, there's no subscription in Canada for ESPN itself. That's why we have Sportsnet, TSN, and all those channels. But like
Mhm.
the one that they're kind of like breaking up with, if you want to call it that, the ESPN network, it's not available in Canada. So it's more like an international factor there. And like Alex mentioned, obviously MLB it's partnering up with a lot of streaming services and a lot of ways for you to consume baseball. They have already a partnership with Peacock. They have a partnership with YouTube, Apple TV. Am I missing? Amazon started last year or the year before that.
Yeah.
I mean,
DAZN will probably jump on as well. DAZN is
exactly.
huge in the soccer realm and has
Yeah.
picked up the NFL for the past few seasons.
Yeah. So I mean, they definitely are branching out, and if this means that blackouts might go away because you have to stream it, might be a good thing that this actually is happening now. But if this
The
means
other
that the
advantage too is streaming the minor league games.
there you go. So that's the other thing, right? So I mean, there's a lot of positives. There's a few things too that a lot of teams were depending on that money as well, to a certain extent, that exposure that the Sunday night game gave them,
Yeah.
in terms of broadcasting that part. I don't know if that's going to impact a lot of the contracts. Like, for example, using the Dodgers as an example in terms of money part of it. Most of the money for like Otani's and those big contracts are coming from Japan, from the Japanese networks. They're not coming from the American networks. So I don't know if it's a shift from that point. One of the excuses, and I'm saying excuses because that's the only information that they provided, is that ESPN did not have enough baseball coverage or baseball content on their network. So obviously it was a mutual agreement because they're more into the basketball, the football, and all that kind of stuff. And Fox was already doing the baseball part of things in terms of the postseason and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, seems like I agree with Alex. If it's something that is going to improve how you consume baseball, great. The part that I'm a little scared, to be absolutely honest with you, is that now, like right now, let's say your favorite show happens to be Suits, which happens to start this week, the new version of Suits, for those of you that actually like those kind of shows. Um, is that you have to kind of have now the subscription for Disney, this, in order for you to kind of
Mm.
consume your favorite team. If that's going to become the next norm, because I mean, for those of you that don't know, for example, like the Friday night games in Apple TV, unless you have Apple, suck it up, buttercup. You ain't watching your
Mhm.
game if your team happens to be on that particular network. Same thing with Amazon. Same thing with Peacock. Actually, Peacock is the exception for Blue Jays, because Peacock is not available in Canada, and that game you can watch it on Sportsnet. So there's some exceptions, but like for the Apple TV, if the Blue Jays happen to be playing on a Friday against the Yankees, unless you have Apple, bye bye. So it kind of makes it a little bit difficult. Of course, people like Alex and myself, we're gonna find a way to, whether it's casted, whether it's finding another way to get that, or play by play, we're gonna get that. And I'll get it one way or the
Yeah.
other. But for those of that are actually trying to just the casual viewers, kind of makes it a little bit tricky to follow your favorite team. So, but it's worth talking about because I mean it's
For
an
sure.
institution coming to an end in this particular in next season. So this is the last year. So make sure to enjoy your last year of Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. I love
For
that.
sure.
I love that.
Yeah. For sure. I think the other, probably the understated point of this as well is as we may be apolitical, most of the world isn't. And ESPN is a major news network owned by
Mhm.
Disney, and
Correct.
all of those networks are getting punished. They've
Yes.
been getting punished for years now. So, it might not even be that fruitful of an environment.
Yeah.
I I hate to give them credit for being the most innovative owner of a sporting franchise, but the things that the UFC has done, especially
Yeah.
with regards to the Fight Pass. If the MLB had a Fight Pass, and like I was saying before, you could watch reruns of games, you can watch, and it was just a collection of games.
Yep.
You can watch the minor league games, you
Hmm.
can buy a subscription for the major league stuff or whatever. Maybe you can do it based on like the
Yep.
teams that you want to follow, so you can watch your teams, or you can buy a season pass so you can watch everything. Like,
Yeah.
that's not
You
a
can
bad.
tier it up. You can have tiers or whatever, right? So
And then you just sell the app through the platforms. Like, hey,
yeah.
Apple TV wants to have the MLB app. It's like, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways that you can actually do it. Like WWE did something like that, like with Raw and stuff like that, right? So there's ways around it. And also there's that push that that it is available in Canada, not in every subscriber, but there is MLB Network as well. So of course, in MLB Network, it's more baseball content, not necessarily baseball games. So you
Yeah,
get a game and a game. I think you get 5 games a week. I think you get a lot of content. I mean, it's basically paradise for those of us that can actually consume baseball 24/7. But it's not something that you're gonna go, okay, they're gonna go back to back to back to back baseball games. It doesn't really work that way. So
correct.
yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing, something to watch out what evolves this season. Maybe Apple would actually get more games, maybe Amazon would actually get more games as well. So we'll just have to sit back and kind of see where the network's gonna go. But it seems to be something that's coming. It's been going on for a while because of for those of you that didn't know, the Atlanta Braves were hosted in Disney, and Disney Stadium was actually the ESPN World of Sports, and now they have a new one. So pretty much everything baseball related seems to be kind of going away from the Disney ecosphere. So on that note, we're gonna go into our World Series section, Alex, where we're gonna review what we talked about, high level summary of everything that we talked about, and the answer to our trivia question. All right, Alex, we'll be right back and ready for our executive summary. All right, executive summary, really flash, quick, quick and dirty, like people say. Section 1, we talked about the signings and the drama at camp. Stanton, elbow issues, might not be ready for opening day. Frankie Montas, same thing, but he actually has a lat injury. So another basically a huge loss there for the Mets. Alex Cobb down for the Tigers. Hordowitz, it's actually down for the Pirates. So those 4 are the key ones, I guess, for right now. In terms of the signings or the declining of the signings, you have Anthony Rizzo still out there looking for a job.
Yeah, Arenado trying to figure out where he goes.
So those are the key signings there. And then obviously the drama in Boston with Devers and Alex Bregman. Who's going to be the third baseman? Is Devers going to allow the Boston Red Sox to make him a permanent DH and become the big puppy, the early big puppy in Boston? I don't know. That's why it's a drama situation there. And last but not least, the Stroh show showing his face again in terms of not wanting to go into the bullpen. And right now, he's not scheduled to be part of the rotation of the Yankees, but anything happens. So we just have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. In terms of the All-Star break, obviously, we talked about anything that has to do with our local initiatives. Obviously, the Red Chilies that actually were helping us out and helping the local community and adult Chilliwack adult baseball. Obviously, check it out. They definitely they help us, we help them. So it's a mutual agreement there. And then obviously all the possibilities that you have right now to volunteer in all the lower mainland baseball leagues. There's a lot of options there, not just in Chilliwack, but everywhere in the lower mainland for you to actually make an impact with the little ones in the house and adults as well. And Alex mentioned also the umpire camps are happening this few days. So definitely, if you want to be part of the decision-making part of it on the field and be an umpire and hang out with the guys, definitely a way to go. In the next section, we talked about the Altuve coefficient. Where is it going to go? In one word, Alex? Yes, no, maybe?
Out to pasture.
There you go. In my case, it's a surprise. We'll see what happens. He has never played left field in his professional career, but again, nobody actually gave him a dime when he wanted to be a major leaguer to begin with. So anything can happen in that front. Then we talked about the Vladdy extension. As of right now, there's no talks until the end of the season. So technically, he's going to hit the free agent in 2026. My take on it is everything is going to be decided whether the Blue Jays are in or not by the trade deadline. That's going to be the linchpin there. Alex, in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's a wait and see. There's too many variables. I'm needing to see more things break about it before I have an opinion. Get
Yeah.
your money, kid. But I mean, I I work a nonprofit, so I don't
Yeah.
care about the piece. Go to a team that's going to get you a ring.
There you go. Ring, it's more important than the big time contract, I think. Um,
Exactly.
yeah,
Adding that to my dating profile.
there you go. All right. So see, we're helping everything here, and then it's not just baseball. It's about lives. It's about
Well,
yeah,
baseball is life. Baseball is the
exactly.
game of
Baseball
life.
like live life like a 3-1 count. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. And last but not least, we talked about the breakup between MLB and ESPN after this season. End of an era for a lot of us growing up outside North America. ESPN being an institution in terms of bringing baseball. Before baseball was available on the streaming platforms, it was one of those things that united families. We'll see where it goes. Your take on that, Alex, pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think it's what comes next that's going to matter. I think the mainstream media is a dying vehicle, and if the MLB can do what the UFC has done with the Fight Pass and duplicate something that has a large library of games and all that sort of stuff, I think that would be really cool. One of the things that I love doing at work is there's an old radio station on the internet that you can play baseball games from like the 20s to the 60s, and it's the old radio broadcasts. And I sometimes
Nice.
work to those games. It's very cool. You know, those high nasal frequency. No, Buster Smith is up.
Dude, that's as vintage as it gets.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
like I would love to see more of that stuff, you know. Hopefully we'll still be able to access like the 30 for 30s that they're probably my favorite thing that ESPN produces. So, you know,
And
an
what
era's over, hopefully a better one is rising, you know.
Yeah. And of course, one of the things that done a Major League Baseball, regardless of whatever network, whatever, regardless of whatever streaming platform, what's the one thing that Major League Baseball has to bring back? There's
Twib.
a Exactly.
Yeah, bring back
That's
This Week in Baseball. Thank you
oh
for reminding me.
yeah, that has to
Mel
come back.
Allen didn't die to see this show stop existing.
Exactly. So Twib has to come
God,
back.
bring back
Hashtag
Twib.
hashtag bring back Twib. I know this week in baseball
For
was
those who don't know,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
This Week in Baseball there was also This Week in Pro Football, but who cares? It was a syndicated show from like the 70s, hosted by Mel Allen, who is a longtime announcer for the Yankees, and it was amazing. It was a perfect baseball show.
Exactly. I know, good for all. I know everybody in the family. So it was perfect. It was grandpa can watch it with a 5-year-old, and it was magic. It was absolutely
Yeah,
magic impersonated into a show. So hashtag bring back Twip. There you go. You heard it here first at
perfect.
HomePlate 33, the podcast. There you go. Alex, I'm glad that you actually brought that up. And to wrap up this awesome podcast, which definitely enjoyed as always with my friend Alex Eriksson from Chill TV, is the answer to the trivia question of the day. Repeating the question, who is the only player in the modern era to hit homers on the first at bat of each level he played? Single A, double A, triple A, and the
Hmm.
show. And that guy is Alex.
Was it Ozzie Smith who hosted Twib from 97 to 98? Ah, who is it?
The left-handed hitter for the San Francisco Giant, Will Clark. Switch swing Will. He did that, and was one of the. It was the first one in the modern era to actually do that. Definitely outspoken player, amazing swing. He definitely didn't take anything for granted in this career. He has an amazing podcast, by the way. Definitely, he doesn't leave anything to the imagination. He tells you how it is. And definitely one of those guys that I followed growing up, and as a catcher and a first baseman, Will Clark was one of those guys that I followed with the Giants growing up. So good to bring him back, like we're going to try to bring Twib back. So, well, Alex,
Absolutely.
again, thank you very much for joining me this week in podcast,
Yeah,
not to
there
actually
you go.
get copyrighted. And yeah, floor is yours to say goodbye to our listeners.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It's a ton of fun getting to hang out and chat baseball. Dom and I would probably do this anyway, so we
Might
get
as well
to
record it.
welcome everybody in to listen along. That's a bonus all around.
There you go. And yep, so next week, like we mentioned a couple of times in today's episode, we'll be doing the first remote version of this podcast. We don't know what's going to look like. But I'll be in Florida, I'll be in Dunedin and Lakeland, and where else? Clearwater, Florida, covering the Blue Jays, the Phillies, the Tigers, and if depending where the baseball and the car GPS takes me in Florida.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Rub it in, rub it in. I'm
Nah,
gonna
it's
be in
all good.
Chilliwack.
I'm just building up for you to can actually kind of put that in your agenda so you can actually join me next year. So we'll
There you
just
go.
just putting that bug in your ear, man. So so
Attaboy.
we'll find a way to make this fun, whether it's on an Instagram live, discussing where we are and taking your questions live. That's definitely an option that we're working on right now. But remember, like a broken record that it's been played over and over again for every single streaming platforms. Like and subscribe in YouTube and all their podcasts platforms so we can continue bringing you this podcast. We definitely love doing it. But of course, unfortunately, not everything is free. So and we need that support and make sure that you guys keep encouraging us to continue talking baseball. See you later and see you next week. See you later,
Stay
Alex.
fit, my dude. Take it
All right.
easy, everybody.
Take it easy.